Hey everyone, it is me, Mythicode, and today I'm gonna update you on the process of ATF. First off, stats were implemented. So something I was confused about before was how stats are gonna exist, right? Because I didn't understand dynamic properties, and I always thought that dynamic properties um was gonna be very difficult. But turns out an update fairly recently made it a lot easier to understand. And it didn't take that long for me to get the hang of it, as well as reusing code from the old ATF um, and paper assisting me along the way. And all these stats exist. Let me explain them real quick. Level, that's your player level, not to be confused with class level that may exist in the future, which would be separate. XP, that's your current XP, and that's your total XP. At level 1, you get free stat points. Stat points you can invest in stats, and we'll look at that later. HP and MP are your status bars. So these indicate, your health and whatnot. HP actually copies onto your player. So if I have 10 HP, it will give me half of my hearts as a display on my survival hearts. Something to take note of. Also, mana replaces the bar, the XP bar, or it will replace the XP bar. We had a thing before, I think, but I really hated how it looped, so I'm gonna like mess with it until I'm happy about it. But yeah, stats exist. They haven't been tested on entities though, and that's the display for it. Entity testing is going to be something that probably will come after player menus, which we'll get into in a sec. So, of the stats, we have 7. Vitality, which is health, or your max health, rather. Strength, which is your melee damage. So, with sword, how much damage you deal at base. Or with your fists, how much damage you deal at base. Dexterity is how much damage you deal at a range, such as throwing daggers or bows. Any throwing type weapon that is not a ranged spell. Agility is your movement speed, so how fast you are. Intelligence is your magic damage and efficiency, so it's how much you can heal someone by, and how much you deal damage to something for. It's the extra damage of spells, basically. Wisdom is your max amount of mana, as well as your mana regen. And finally, defense. Defense negates damage for every one level of defense you have. It's 1 damage negated. So if you have 10 defense and you get hit with 20 damage, half of it is removed because minus 10 defense, and you will take 10 damage to your health. That's pretty explained. Defense increases with your armor level. But you can increase it without armor, and that's why you can invest stat points into it. There's a new UI for the initial like entrance to the game now, and I'll go ahead and show you. But before that, you gotta know that the race list and information are fixed. So from the free races there were, and they were filler races, there are now the full 5 races. I won't go into too much detail with them, like all the different perks and stuff, because they're all work in progress, but I'll show you the Giants race and explain some stuff. Also, the under name, the in-game name and the chat name needs some polishing, and I'll show you that in a sec. And finally, the player level character name appear in chat, like so. Test. I have the nickname of Ryokan, and my level's 1. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and look at this UI. So instantly you can see a difference than the previous, is that we have icons next to the buttons. The buttons, they look a lot cleaner now. There's no square brackets that really stand out. It's very neat laid out. And the text reads, "This will create your character. These details cannot be changed, so make sure you are fine with them." Um, Something to note as well, by default, whenever you click on your select character name, you'll have your username in here. Before, it wasn't like that. And before, it was like this, where it would say it's got your username, but when you submit, it will think you have less than 2 characters because there was no input. But now it will like actually start off with your username. So if I have no input, click submit. By default, it will have the real Kankov, but I'm gonna call myself Code just to show the difference. Also, you can't use special characters and names are censored by MC. These two bottom ones I have yet to code, but this top one I've coded. So that's good. Once you submit, it will save on the button like last time. And once we click on the race, we can go ahead and see there's a bunch of icons here now next to the races indicating different things. So I really enjoy this. This is really easy to set up too. I have a object that has an texture file path for these icons that it automatically do, as well as the name, description, perks, curses. Everything I need is like in one object, and it's great. We can go back into the main menu, but if we do go into the giants right now, you'll see that there's a little description. Giants have very sturdy bodies. They pride themselves on their defensive capabilities, and they are as big as they are durable. So, different races will have different scales. Humans will have the regular player scale. Dwarves will have 20% smaller scale than humans, whilst giants will have 20% higher scale than humans, and both dark and forest elves will have a 10% scale increase on humans. So elves 10% taller, giants 20% taller, dwarves 20% smaller. And this will change gameplay and stuff. You'll notice it in game, definitely. They all have the different perks and curses. They all need polishing, so I'm not going to read too much into it. But once you have selected a race and name, you can go ahead and hit confirm. You can see I'm human and my name's Code here. Let's go ahead and confirm. Now when I type in chat now, I got the Code tag with my level. And if I use Onyx Client, you can see under my name is actually my race, or on my name is my level, my race, and then my nickname. It's pretty cool stuff. I might make some settings in which you can hide your race and level in the player menu, but the player menu is something that's like going to be really advanced, so I'd have been avoiding it, to be honest. So that's pretty much it. We just need the polishing of the chat display and the polishing of the name display. Maybe adding some colors or something will definitely make it stand out a bit less. or sorry, stand out a bit more and not being as bland. Let's take a look at the dungeon stuff real quick. So now I've asked the build team what the progress is on. We're looking for the build progress in the lobby now. So we're just waiting for Pingu to get back with the lobby, although they can take their time because we have a lot of coding to do. Dungeon tiles are finished though, so all the dungeon assets are finished, including the loot rooms. All they need is the rotation when they're saving and loading. They just need to save the rotation of the room so that I can, load the a lot less assets. So, for example, if no, I'm in survival. So from this one asset that the builders are using, there is 4 versions, and that's with the red being in each different corner. Like so. And these are rotations of the room. Okay. I made the builders build one rotation so they can build different types of rooms and not have to worry about the rotations and not be stressed out, which is fair. Because there's a bunch of different room types. It's not just this and not just this. There's like a fuck ton. By a fuck ton, I mean like 5 different types, 6 different types, including the loot rooms. The point is that I just need to make the system in which loads one structure type on a rotation so I can save a quarter of what I would usually have to save in structures, which is obviously more efficient and it will work better in the long run. Next, loot rooms. So how I was confused how they would generate before, but I have an idea now. Okay, and in fact, it's already done. So let's say that each one of these 2x2s is a room, like so. 4x4s is a room. Okay, you got a this room with that's outlined, and this room here that's also outlined. Don't matter when generating the rooms. They'll never spawn on these specifically, but what the generator will look for is this shape next to this shape. If these two go into each other, then this is the conditions met for a loot room to spawn. And it will spawn a room inside the playable area that laps over into this. So, like so. And that's how loot rooms spawn. They spawn on top of the already loaded stuff. It's not something that loads with everything else, it loads after everything else. And it's pretty cool stuff. The point I'm making is that it's possible to do. Next, the player menu upgrades, or what was supposed to be upgrades. The player menu used to be an emerald for testing. I made 2 new items and added them into the game. Now they're technically here, as you can see in my action bar. When I scroll through them, they exist, but for some reason they don't have a texture. And what's really bizarre about it is that there's no error for it. And the texture exists because I've looked at it and opened it up in like 3D Paint to make sure it's not some bug texture on my end. No, it exists. It just doesn't want to load. I don't know why. All it is the settings icon. I've already used it a few times in my other add-ons. I just don't know why it's not wanting to load this one. It doesn't have any functionality, and I have a lot planned for organizing it better, such as having an actual party menu, maybe some sort of friends list system, so you can make dungeons friends only and stuff like that. Who knows? But it's pretty complex stuff, and I'll probably do a time lapse on making the player menu. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of uh, content, I guess, is that's all for the ATF catch up. So if you're just here for the ATF catch up, then you can go ahead and leave. If you want to understand how I'm going to do things on YouTube from now on when it comes to this project, then stay. First, um, I'm not going to be editing these videos, these ATF videos. They're update videos, and whilst it is nice to keep my channel as high quality as possible, I believe that seeing it from my perspective and my raw perspective, rather, as a dev and experiencing these things, is going to be a lot more meaningful to this documentation, essentially. I feel like editing this and spending like 6, 7 hours editing this video, tens of hours editing this video, just to get a bit of a higher quality on a project that means a lot to me, but I don't expect anyone else to care, you know? I just feel like it'd be a lot of wasted effort, so I'm not gonna edit these videos. I'm just gonna keep it in its raw form. And other videos, sometimes I'll edit them. Most of my content is planned to be speed edits, so that's videos of me developing the actual add-ons and stuff, speeding it up and putting some music on there so you guys can chill while watching the sped up process and testing and whatnot. Um, and yeah, that's how I'm gonna do things on YouTube from now on. Now, in these edits, I might also take breaks from this. I'm actually planning a break to start developing soon that I'm gonna let my friends in on. I'm not gonna tell them, so if they watch this video, then they'll might ask me, but I'll tell them when it's done. And I'll make a video of it if they're willing to join. And I think that'll be quite fun experience. So stay tuned for that. But it's not going to be content that's going to be always happening on my channel. It's mostly going to be development content. Hence the name Mythicode. And that's how you say it, by the way, Mythicode. Not Mythi Code or Mythic. Okay, it's Mythicode. Mythcode. Mythi Code. Mythicode. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Peace.